My name is Sari van Pooyen, and I'm an expert in business innovation. I help businesses innovate more quickly than they innovate their products to accelerate their time to market. One of the tools I use for that is leadership coaching or leadership team coaching. In the leadership coaching, I really focus on silences, sequences, and storytelling. And I want to say something about sequences and storytelling, really. One of the levels of patterns recognition or sequence recognition is really that I listen for what we call the life script. A life script is an unconscious pattern of behavior that you learned in early childhood, which was confirmed by your parents or events and ends in what we call a well-known payoff. So really, when you ask people, this is a kind of a morbid question, but if you ask people, what do you think will be on your tombstone? Leaders could answer something like, I worked so hard, so what? Or I forgot what was important, or I accomplished a lot, but my wife left me. And I often have to coach leaders who are caught in this rut of script. Last time I had a female leader, and she started off by telling me, wow, I've got a new leader. And I said, oh, that sounds like news. And she said, yeah, but it's a female leader. I said, okay. And she said, yeah, but I can't work for a woman. Why can't you work for a woman? She said, oh, it's just impossible. Women are impossible. I said, so what would happen if you worked for a woman? She said, oh, no, we'll get into a fight. We know that for sure. How do you know that for sure? And so we went back bit by bit in her life script story. And I said, when was this taking place for you? And she said, oh, it's my mother. And I said, what do you mean it's your mother? She said, oh, I never had a good relationship with her. And I just think I couldn't work for a woman because of that. So, hey, so what happened between you and your mother? And she told me, well, you know, when I was 26, I got married and my mother didn't come. And that's how I knew she didn't love me. And then I said, so what else happened? Well, when I was 22, before anybody else, I succeeded at my university, but my mother wasn't there at my diploma. So I knew she didn't love me. So I went back in time. I said, when was the first time you thought this? And she said, well, when I was very young, I had to do communion in the Catholic Church. And, you know, I was dressed in white and I had these shiny black shoes on. And I went up to my mother. I was dressed up and I stood in her bedroom doorway and she was sitting behind her makeup table. And I said to her, Mama, Mama, look at me. I look so beautiful. And my mother said to me, no, look at me. I'm beautiful. And that's when I knew my mother doesn't love me. I said, but now you're an adult. What do you think about this? And she said, well, I don't know. And I said, what do you know of that time? And she said, well, I remember that my father had just died the year before. And I said, so what was going on, do you think? Now I think about it, my mother was really sad. I think so too. So what else was going on? In the preparation of my communion, my mother had gone to church. And at church, she met a man who was the father of another little girl who was doing communion. I think they really liked each other. And I said to her, well, now you're a grown-up woman. What do you think was going through your mother's mind? And she said, well, I think my mother was really nervous because she was going to meet this guy again when I was going to church to do my communion. Oh, now I realize what she was doing was really telling me we're women together and we're both beautiful, but I'm really nervous. I asked her, so how does that make you feel? And she started to cry and she said, I never realized that my mother was a human being too. Hmm. And I said, so now, when you think about it, what does this mean for you as a leader? And she said, I have to think about it, but I feel much better about working for a woman now. Maybe now I can do something that I was never able to do with my mother. That's why when I work with leaders, I always look for the script. The script is really the pattern of life that people have decided when they're very young to survive, but which may not be very functional at this moment in time. What I often see is that people repeat stories that aren't necessary in their life today. And script as a concept really helps me see that pattern of life that we need to interrupt to have a better life and to become a better leader.